Hello, and welcome to A Day in the Life of. Today we have special guest Dwayne Jengy from California, who just won the race to become president of California. How are you doing today? Get up!
What? Yeah. I'm doing just fine. How about yourself?
Great. Let's start with some questions to make sure our viewers know who you are. How old are you?
41.
Favorite color?
Purple.
Relationship status?
Divorced.
I don't mean to intrude, but how come you're divorced?
Long story. Let's just say my least favorite footballer is Didier Drogba.
Anyway, let's see how President Jengy starts off his day.
Alright. I have a special relationship with bananas. It's true. Now, I was featured on FAKE News last night, so let's watch that, actually. It's pretty brilliant. Oh, sorry, I love PowerPoints. Wrong channel.
Welcome. My name is Tezzy Wezzy, and this is my colleague, Fuzzy Wuzzy. And you are watching FAKE News, where political slander is our first nature, and journalistic integrity is our last. We once again bring you grave news today. We're on the brink of a nuclear crisis. As tensions rise between nations, fear of a nuclear attack increases. I think it's safe to say, Fuzzy Wuzzy, that we are officially in the second Cold War.
Yes, we are, Tezzy Wezzy, and political scientists have been researching the roots of this conflict, and they believe that the initial cause emerged in the late 21st century with the proliferation of anti-globalization sentiment worldwide. It is unclear, still, which country first began tending toward these isolationist policies, as heavy supporters range from Patrick Buchanan in the US, Marine Le Pen of France, Nick Griffin in the UK, to Karl-Heinz Strache in Austria. Either way, the sentiment spread, and it grew from economic, cultural, and political fears. Globalization was seen as destroying national culture and nation sovereignty. Additionally, with economic globalization, there was fear that if the economy of one nation failed, a global ripple effect would ensue, creating a global economic crisis. Interdependence among nations would cause the collapse of all nations.
Well, that's certainly right, Fuzzy Wuzzy. Anti-globalization also arose from the fear of immigration and easy trade. In the previously great nation and whole nation of the United States, there was the idea that immigrants stole jobs, that they assisted in the drug trade, and were overall responsible for the economic and moral decline of this once great nation.
Yes, and less developed nations joined the movement, as they saw globalization as a capitalist exploitation, widening the gap between rich and poor. Globalization created an unequal power distribution, and globalization began to be equated with Americanization. In an attempt to block the power of the U.S., nations began to turn towards isolation.
Well, to fight globalization, governments implemented strict immigration policies and pulled out of economic, security, and ecological agreements. Free trade was also limited through increased foreign import tariffs and increased domestic manufacturing.
Yes, and now, Tezzy Wezzy, we go to Shaniqua in the field.
I love Shaniqua.
I do. Great woman. She has information relating California's response to U.S. isolationism. Shaniqua?
I'm here with the newly elected President of California, Dwayne Jengy. Although California hasn't officially seceded from the U.S. yet, it seems pretty likely. So tell me, future President Jengy, why does California want to leave the U.S.?
Well, first of all, let me just thank you for bringing me on the show. I've heard a lot of things about FAKE News. Huge fan. Sort of reminds me of... never mind. First of all, in a time of nationalism, the people of California no longer feel that the United States represents their points of view, their beliefs, and their values. We feel that we need to cut ties with the states because their movement towards isolationism does not reflect the want of California to keep its allies across the pond.
So, are the United States isolationist policies not acceptable?
First of all, I've been to the United States. Not impressed. For one, we used to have such a big hand in global affairs. Huge hand in global affairs. Now we've just thrown this out the window. Look at the disastrous effects we've had on developing countries by withdrawing our power from the globe. Economies are failing, people are starving, and all across the world there's been an increase in terrorist attacks. We want to live in a world where everyone is equal, where there are no developing or developed countries, but rather nations that live in harmony. While that is a far-off goal, the first step to getting there is reacquiring political ties with the rest of the world.
If you're not going to be isolationist, then what are you going to do instead?
Well, first and foremost, we need to meet with other countries and talk about the role of free trade. We need to come up with some new free trade agreements. Since resources are limited in certain areas, we want them to be able to access those from other countries that have them in plenty. Also, there are more refugees in the world today than ever before, and they need to find a place to go. If we start taking in immigrants again in powerful countries across the world, people don't need to take to the streets for their homes. We believe that if we start by taking some of these actions, the rest of the world will soon follow.
Is the collapse of the European Union going to affect any of this?
Although the European Union did collapse, so is the Union of the United States. But we're hoping to take steps to make sure that our part of the world doesn't shut itself out. We're hoping that the ex-members of the European Union will follow suit and that the countries who believe in globalization will also start helping the rest of the world again.
Well, thank you, future President Jengy, for speaking with us.
Oh, my pleasure.
This is the first step in a new era of politics. There's a huge division between countries that want to keep globalization and ones that are like, nah. Places like California are hoping that past eras like the 2000s will remind countries that globalization was pretty darn good. Hopefully this will prevent other countries from leaving globalization policies and, going isolationist. Now back to Tezzy, Wezzy, and Fuzzy Wuzzy.
Thank you, Shaniqua. In other news, trouble strikes the People's Republic of Chicago as a delicate economic system threatens to collapse.
That is right, Tezzy Wezzy. A combination of tariffs, high taxes, and highly regulatory market practices have pushed the people of Chicago to the brink of poverty. Citizens struggle to find work, and small business owners find it impossible to get a start in this harsh environment.
We now go live to the streets of the Windy City with special reporter Hara Ambe, as she interviews small business owner Billie Jean Stevens on her struggles to keep her store afloat. Hello, Hara. You're live.
Thanks, Tezzy Wezzy. I'm here on the windy streets of the People's Republic of Chicago with Billie Jean Stevens, owner and founder of Goody Groceries. How are you doing today, Miss Stevens?
Gotta be honest, Hara, not that great. These new tariffs from the government have dismantled my supply chain. I'm now having to pay up to twice as much for products that I used to be able to import for cheap.
Ms. Stevens is referring to Executive Order 66 implemented by the government earlier this month, placing high tariffs on all product imported from hostile countries.
I shouldn't have to pay tariffs to import pineapples from Brazil. Tensions are high all across the world, and restricting trade is not going to fix that.
So how have these new tariffs impacted your business?
They made it nearly impossible to stay afloat. Government regulations place tariffs and tax the hell out of all imported goods. They're forcing me to buy products, such as milk and rice, locally. Local farmers will charge up to twice as much as it would cost to import these goods. Besides, rice doesn't even grow in Chicago.
Why is that?
Well, the climate just isn't right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking about the tariffs.
Oh, the tariffs. Well, it completely ignores the concept of comparative advantage. I don't see why the government thinks we have to do everything ourselves. The Senate is shooting our economy in the foot.
All right. Thank you for your time, Miss Billie Jean Stevens, and best of luck for your business. We now head back to the studio for another take on these Senate orders.
Hello, we are now back in the studio for an exclusive interview with Dennis Muilenburg, CEO of Boeing.
Thanks, Fuzzy Wuzzy. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you too, Dennis. So, tell us, how are the new regulations affecting your company?
Well, our company is currently having difficulty ordering aircraft parts in France due to the government-set quotas on the parts.
So what is expected from this quota?
Well, We are currently only able to buy a certain amount of the parts. Therefore, we can only use them in the replacement parts instead of the manufacturing of the aircraft.
And is this problem affecting all aircraft companies, Des?
Unfortunately, yes, it will.
So how is your company going to deal with this limited quantity then?
Well, we are going to unfortunately have to raise all prices on the aircraft running this part, while we search for a new area to manufacture these parts.
And there you have it. Now we turn to some even more disturbing news in Sweden. It's a shocker. Reporting live, environmental expert Robert Trousers.
Trousers, you're live.
Hiya, Fuzzy. I'm standing here observing an unfolding crisis. In my hand, you can see a jellyfish. This is just one example of the millions of jellyfish that have invaded Ringhals nuclear power plant in Varberg, 60 kilometers south of Gothenburg, Sweden.
Yeah, why are there jellyfish in a power plant, Robert?
You see, Fuzzy, the world has undergone a dramatic change in climate. The last 5 years have seen a greater volume of carbon dioxide released into the atmosphere than the last 150 combined. This carbon dioxide has warmed the Earth due to the greenhouse effect, with average temperatures hitting 2.3 degrees Celsius above what they were 100 years ago. Now, ocean currents are heavily affected by the temperature of the ocean, and this rising global temperature has meant that the North Atlantic current has shifted its path farther north. This means that tropical sea life carried by the current has started appearing in places they historically have never been. In our case, this tropical life has been sucked through the power plant's cooling systems and deposited on the ground. Which is why I'm holding a jellyfish.
Jellyfish in a power plant? How disturbing.
Jellyfish are the least of our problems, Tezzy. Rising sea levels have already put several of the world's greatest cities underwater. Shanghai, Hong Kong, Amsterdam, and even New York, to name a few. As I'm sure viewers know, the weather has become more and more extreme in recent years. Hurricanes are more powerful, and heat waves are hotter and more deadly than ever. While some places are being overtaken by water, some are dying of thirst. Many areas of the world, such as the southeast United States, have been drought-stricken, leading to more wildfires. To compound the problem, global warming has disrupted food production worldwide. The Midwest United States, which once produced 25% of the world's grains, has been rendered useless for farming by droughts and warmer temperatures. People are beginning to really feel the shortage as food prices are rising dramatically.
If only we had begun working on this problem many years ago, then maybe we could have had a chance to stop it, Robert.
Unfortunately, Tezzy, we did. In the 2010s, several international agreements were created to try to combat carbon emissions and slow the effects of global warming. One example, the Paris Agreement, was signed and ratified by 123 countries, including top carbon emitters such as the United States, China, India, and even the European Union. However, after 2 decades of stalling and aggressive behavior, the United States and several other nations backed out of the agreement. This behavior is how we came to the state we're in. Reporting from Varberg, Sweden, Robert Trousers.
Thank you, Robert. All this mayhem and chaos could have been avoided had we not turned our backs on each other. Isolationism was not the answer to our problems. Instead, it had dire consequences.
Isolationism led to environmental issues, the downfall of countries due to politics, and to the ultimate collapse of the global economy. If anything can be learned from this, it is that globalization can help repair our broken world.
So there's still hope. We can band together, rebuild the economy, restore political systems, and save the environment using globalization. Working together as equals is what can repair this brokenness, because working against each other has led to our near destruction.